Guys, welcome or welcome back to my channel. Today we are finally going to review the new Dior Forever Nude Bronzers. I'm so excited. Dior launched a ton of stuff, but the bronzers are actually the ones that I was really looking forward to reviewing. I've had these bronzers for a few days already. I actually filmed some footage 2 days ago as my first impression. Unfortunately, I just didn't agree with the footage. I didn't think the footage was good enough to use, so I decided to refilm it today. Since the lighting is finally good, I want to get started. I do want to have a little bit of a disclaimer that I did take a little bit of a cat nap today a few hours ago, but unfortunately the pillow marks are still on my face. I drank water. I took some time to just wait for it to fluff out. I massaged my face, but I cannot get rid of the pillow marks, so I'm so sorry. I hope this doesn't bother the review. But since the Netherlands has such crappy weather and I finally have some good lighting, I wanted to film anyway. I hope this doesn't bother you guys. But this is like super unprofessional, but we're just gonna deal, okay? Before I say anything about the details, I do have a little bit of a bone to pick with Dior. When I saw like the promo images, that I could rock every single one of these shades. The shade jump didn't look as high, and I remember thinking like, what shade can I get? Because they all look like they could work on my skin tone. Then saw the swatches, and those look like they are definitely different colors, and I felt like the shade 2, so they start from shade 2 going all the way down to shade 5, and shade 2 looked a little bit too bright on me. But then you have the promo photos on the website, and then shade 2 actually looks like it could still work on me. I went with my gut instinct here, and I decided because of the swatches, let's not go for shade 2. I had the same issue with shade 5. When I saw the promo image of all of the pans, I remember thinking shade 5 could work on me. When I saw the swatches, I was like, I think shade 5 could still work on me. But then I saw the promo images, and this beautiful model over here, of course, does not have my skin tone. So I don't think that this shade is meant for me and my skin tone. So I decided not to purchase shade 2 and not to purchase shade 5. So what colors do I have left? Of course, there's shade 3 and there's shade 4. I didn't know which one to go for. I want to say that in the swatches, shade 3 looked a little bit more pinky or peachy, and shade 4 looked a little bit more classic warm tone bronzer. The warm tone bronzers usually work for me, so I did want to go ahead and buy shade 4, but I couldn't stop thinking about shade 3 either. So the ones that I got are shade 3 in the shimmer or the natural formulation, because there's a matte formulation and there's a natural formulation, and I wanted to test out both for you guys. But I got shade 3 in the natural formulation or the shimmer formulation, and then shade 4 in both the formulations, the matte and the shimmer. But here you have some swatches, and you can definitely see a good shade jump. One thing I didn't realize is that the shade jump from shade 4 from the shimmer or the natural to the matte one has much more pigment. So if you're in doubt, you could look at the matte versions as well, because they seem to be a little bit deeper. Dior has been going towards the clean beauty standards, so there's not going to be any talc in here. The first ingredient is going to be mica, you see here on the back, and the second ingredient on all of them is going to be silica. It has a 12-month shelf life. It's made in France, and I paid 56 euros for it, so quite pricey, especially if you want to buy 3 of them. But I felt for a review, it was sort of necessary. And of course, I want to try to get my perfect shade, and I do have an opinion on what my perfect shade is like. The unicorn is going to be the simple Dior unicorn you see everywhere. It looks the same like every single thing, and of course the packaging is really nice. You're going to get that faux leather packaging. It's not new for Dior, but I think this color is new, and a lot of people said that it looked a lot like the YSL. So the YSL of course has the clutch packaging, and yeah, I see why they say it looks a lot alike. I just think that the YSL, because of the black matte packaging and the weight, it definitely has a different quality. This is much bulkier but also much weightier, and this of course is not real chrome. It's very reflective, and I do think that this is refillable, whereas the YSL is not refillable. So I do like the refillable aspect of the packaging, and I actually really like the way that this packaging looks. I also like that it's not too heavy, and it reminded me more of Floris's packaging of the Nomad collection. It is faux leather, but it still looks like a luxury goodie. And when you open it up, of course, you're going to get a beautiful Dior embossing. The first thing you'll notice is the fragrance. The fragrance is quite strong in these bronzers, especially when you start using them and picking them up. You're going to get a ton of fragrance. I'm actually shocked at how much comes off when I start using these. But I just want to go ahead and say, if you're sensitive to fragrances, especially Dior fragrances, yeah, I don't think that this is going to be for you. Honestly, If I can be completely honest with you guys, that's my only con when it comes to these bronzers, because I actually think that they are stunning. So let's actually apply them on the face. I want to start with 3, of course, and I want to go ahead, start with the 3 of the shimmer formula on this side, and then go and use a 4 of the shimmer formula on this side so you can actually see the shade jump. I'm gonna go in with a fluffy brush. I'm gonna go in with the Refillable 05. We're gonna go and use it on this side. This right here is hyperpigmentation. So it's not because the bronzer is muddy, but I'm gonna have to show you guys anyway on this side. I don't mind my skin showing a little bit, but I don't want you guys to judge this bronzer on my own hyperpigmentation. All I'm wearing on the face right now is my Dior stick foundation. I've been loving that one. Initially, I went into this bronzer with a more dense brush. You're gonna get a little bit more pickup, but I think a fluffy brush, since this is not a baked formula, just a powder formula, I think a fluffy brush is just the most beautiful finish when it comes to this bronzer. It is a luxury formula, so I don't feel like you're gonna get like a ton of pickup. You can never overdo it, but just in terms of how the effect looks on the skin, a fluffy brush seems to be the best in my opinion. Now I like my bronzers in the crease, so that is what we're gonna do. And here you're gonna see how soft focused this is, but still a very natural bronzer. A little bit underneath the eye as well. Building it up slightly, and you can, right? So this is a buildable formula, but look how soft focused that looks. No filters, natural lighting only. This is what you see on the skin and looks very beautiful. I want to build it up a little bit on the forehead, just so you guys can see that you can build it up. You don't have to. And this is actually a very pretty shade. I want to say it looks very natural on the skin. So I don't think it looks shimmery necessarily, but it looks very natural. And that is actually what the description says on the Dutch website as well. So it's supposed to look natural. In the pan, you actually do see some mica flecks, but I'm not translating that in real life. So this is nothing, bare skin, and this is the bronzer side. The shade is called Soft, and it's honestly a very soft shade. I think it works on my skin tone. I think if you're even more fair than I am, you're gonna love this. Also because it does lean a little bit peachy, and I think it looks so stunning. Let's go ahead and use a number 4 so you guys can see the difference of the tones and the shade. In with the Sonia G Master Face Brush, a similar kind of fluffy brush. And I'm gonna go in shade 4, and this shade is called Warm. So shade 3 was called Soft, this one is called Warm. And yes, we're gonna go over those edges. I'm hoping you guys can still see how beautiful this bronzer is. So I'm gonna ask you guys to focus on my forehead. My skin tone is a light medium, and it's neutral to warm leaning. A warm bronzer often looks very flattering on me, and right now, like, look how stunning that looks. It looks very natural in my opinion. I don't think it looks like I'm wearing a ton of bronzer. I think it kind of works with my natural face. Especially from afar, you're not gonna see those lines too much. I love the effect that this gives. And the shade jump, you can definitely tell. This is a build-up shade 3. And this is the initial shade 4, and you can already tell that this leans a bit more warm, got more yellow tones in it, and is slightly deeper. Now if I build it up on my forehead, you're gonna see it's gonna lean much darker, so you can build it up quite a bit. So let's go ahead and compare the two. Shade 3 on this side, shade 4 on this side. These two shades, I think I can make both of them work for me. I also think that shade 4 is just a bit more flattering and more, I guess, in tone, like in tune with my tone. I personally think that with my complexion type, the fact that I'm warm leaning, this type of bronzer just looks more beautiful on my skin tone. I think that I could make it work with shade 3, but if you are fair in tone, maybe a bit cooler, I think you're gonna rock this one even more. You don't have to go as deep. This is me building it up on this side, so you can get a bit of pigment out of it. Another person that would like this is if you are my tone, but you don't like a stark bronzer, you have a ton of yellow toned bronzers in your collection, like warm tone bronzers in your collection, you might wanna go for this one as well. It's still gonna give you a beautiful finish, so I'm not knocking the formulation at all. I just think that in terms of color, the shade 4 is just a better match for me. Now we have tried shade 3 and shade 4 in the shimmer natural category. Let's go in with 4 mattes. So I'm gonna actually put some foundation on this side, and then I wanna use the 4 matte shade on this side so you guys can see the difference in the two of them. So I put some foundation, stick foundation from Dior on this side. My shade is 2.5N, by the way, if anyone wondered. And I'm gonna go in with shade 4 matte on this side. I'm using the same brush that I did 2 days ago, and it's gonna be the Refillable 04 brush. Slightly more dense, so we're gonna get a little bit more pickup on this brush, but still fluffy enough to use as a good bronzer. I'm gonna do some circular motions and move my way up to my forehead. So here we're gonna have shade 4, same shade family as this number 4, which is the more natural side, so the natural finish. And here we're gonna get more of a matte finish. It's definitely more mattifying. It also looks more mattifying in the pan. And up close, we're gonna get a good soft focus moment. Now this shine is also because I'm wearing the foundation underneath. But overall, it's not the most mattifying bronzer I've ever had. So keep that in mind. So this one packs a little bit more pigment. We're gonna get a good amount of color payout without using as much product. On my forehead, I haven't built it up yet towards this, but this is the initial application and it's quite close. Like we're getting there. On the eyes, you definitely see it's deeper. It's contouring the eyes a little bit more. And it was really easy to get this sharp nose line, like nose contour. I really like shade 4 for me. So even in the matte section, I'm really enjoying shade 4. I actually really like the shimmer finish, but I think the matte finish is actually still a little bit more flattering on me, simply because we're gonna get that look, you know, that we're trying to go for. It's not as mattifying as I expected. I actually think that shade 4 looks really beautiful. Finish really depends on preference. Because I want this review to be the best review that you had, I'm going to put some foundation on the matte side of things, and I'm gonna put the shimmer shade 4 on the entire face so you guys can see a still of all 3 on the same side so you can make a proper buying decision. So final thoughts on these beautiful bronzers. I actually really like all of the bronzers. I think they look stunning. I think it's a luxury formula that's really easy to blend, really easy not to overdo, so dummy proof. And I do like that they went with a matte formulation and more of a shimmer or like natural formulation. I like having to test out both. I think the biggest con definitely for me is fragrance. Unfortunately, I find them a little bit too fragrant for my liking, and I wouldn't consider myself that picky when it comes to fragrances in my makeup, but this one really is a standout. You can't really miss the amount of fragrance in here. Fragrance aside, I think they are all stunning bronzers, so let's talk a little bit about color and which one might be right for you. If you're around my shade buddy, you might be looking at the same colors as me. So we got shade 3 and shade 4. To recap a little bit, shade 3 is gonna lean a little bit more peachy, and I think will look really great on fairer skin tones, especially if you don't want to go for such a warm bronzer. This is quite nice. I would say it has peach tones in it, so not necessarily a lot of rose tones like the Jones Road one. Even see it in the pan. It's gonna lean a little bit more true to color, as you can see here. It's gonna lean a little bit more peachy. It doesn't have a ton of yellow in it. So if you're looking for this specific bronzer shade, I totally understand. I'm really happy that they included this in the lineup. It still works on me, so it works on me fine. It looks beautiful on the skin. It's soft focus. It's really easy to blend. You can build it up a little bit, so you can still make some good use out of this. It's gonna give you a very natural looking glow. If you like glowy makeup, I think this is a perfectly good bronzer to put in your collection. Let's talk a little bit about mattes and the shimmer formulation. So these are both shade 4. They're going to be the same family, but they're not going to be entirely the same shade. I actually thought the matte was going to be a little bit more matte than it was because maybe it's such a sheer formula. So there is going to be some impact of how you're going to layer your makeup. So if you're going to wear a very like shimmery foundation, let's say, or very skin-like foundation, it is still gonna show through, which I think is what happened to me when I used my Form Matte. I actually think that Form Matte looks beautiful on me. And out of all of them, I find that one is maybe potentially the best for my skin tone. I could argue it's the most flattering and the most pigmented. It takes only a few passes to get the amount of pigment that I need. And I actually really like the tone of both of these fours. They do lean a bit more warm, classic bronzer styles. If you are deeper in skin tone, but you don't want to go for a shade 5, shade 4 matte is a bit deeper than shade 4 of the natural formulation. My face right now, I'm currently wearing shade 4 all over, just to give you a sense of how that would look. And I actually like that all of these bronzers give me quite a soft focused effect. I do feel like this is a win for Dior. And Dior's complexion products can really impress me. They can be quite poor blurring, and it almost looks like I'm wearing a filter with them. So all of these bronzers give me that filter. I think when it comes to finish, this is definitely a preference thing. So you could look at me and be like, I'm sorry, but the shimmer formulation or the natural skin formulation just looks better on you. I totally get it. I have a hard time picking a favorite. I just know that shade 4 definitely works the best on me. Lastly, I'm going to do a little bit of an appreciation when it comes to the packaging. I like this packaging. It is quite lightweight, so it's not going to give you necessarily a luxury feel, but packaging wise, it is very stunning. It's nice to pull out of your bag, and it is refillable, so that is nice. I don't know if they'll come out with the refills, but I'm glad that it is a refillable. I hope you guys liked this review and it was helpful for you guys. If you did, please make sure to thumbs it up. If you have any questions regarding these bronzers, please make sure to use the comment section down below. If you like Dior, make sure to look at my playlist and subscribe to my channel, of course, so we can dive into the Dior rabbit hole together. Dior has a ton of launches, so I typically only pick up the launches that I'm really interested in. I want to thank you guys once again so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a beautiful, happy, healthy day, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.